Greetings, seekers of the hidden truth and wanderers of the unknown. Welcome to the portal of the unknown, a place where the threads of ancient and future worlds converge with the shadows of forbidden knowledge. Today, we embark on a journey into the heart of a cosmic mystery, the echoes of the original fall, the influence of fallen angels, and the corruption that transformed Earth into a battleground for spiritual warfare. Central to this mystery is the relationship between Adam, Eve, and the Nephilim, as uncovered in the Book of Giants. This apocryphal text, a part of the Book of Enoch, unveils forgotten layers of the biblical narrative, revealing that the forces of evil did not originate with humanity, but were born in the heavens themselves. The fall of man in the Garden of Eden, with Adam and Eve's sin, was not merely a human error. It was the culmination of a cosmic conflict unfolding in the spiritual realm. The fall was not just a singular event, but the manifestation of a far-reaching battle that affected the entire fabric of creation. The Nephilim, hybrid beings born of the union between fallen angels and human women, are the embodiment of the corruption of God's original plan for creation. These giants, fierce in strength and power, were also symbols of the chaos and disorder brought about by rebellion. The Book of Giants details the reign of these creatures, who were the offspring of the Watchers, angels who descended to Earth in pursuit of forbidden knowledge and to indulge in corrupt desires. What began as a quest for greater wisdom and power soon spiraled into a brutal tyranny, both spiritual and physical, with the Nephilim at its helm, spreading destruction and chaos. They were not only giants in size, but in evil, bringing a level of corruption that pervaded all aspects of creation. Abel's lineage was destroyed, and humanity's moral compass was forever skewed. The fall of Adam and Eve mirrored a spiritual breakdown that had already taken root in the earth long before humanity's first disobedience. The descent of the fallen angels was not a mere accident, but a deliberate choice. These angels, known as the Watchers, defied divine order and chose to take human wives, thereby bringing the Nephilim into existence. This act of disobedience was not just a breach of heaven's order, but a devastating blow to the moral structure of the earth itself. As rulers and tyrants, the Nephilim imposed their authority over humanity, spreading violence, corruption, and chaos across ancient nations. This was not simply a human issue, but a cosmic one, as the rebellion of these celestial beings disrupted the very balance of creation, setting the stage for the ongoing conflict between good and evil that still plays out today. The influence of the Nephilim on humanity was profound. According to the Book of Giants, they didn't only dominate humanity physically, they also sowed spiritual destruction. The Nephilim taught humans forbidden knowledge, including dark arts such as magic, weapons crafting, and other esoteric wisdom that went beyond the natural bounds of mankind. This was a direct violation of God's design, which intended for humans to live in purity and simplicity, free from the corruption of knowledge that was meant to remain hidden. The interference of the fallen angels awoke a deep and pervasive evil that distorted the original harmony of creation, leading humanity astray and igniting an eternal battle for the soul of mankind. The Nephilim were not mere mythological figures. They represented an ancient and ever-present evil, a force that transcends time itself. The Book of Giants describes how these beings were feared by all and how their reign caused chaos and destruction wherever they went. But their existence is not just a story of the past. It is a reflection of the spiritual battle we still fight today. The dark forces that first arose with the fall of Adam and Eve continue to influence the world, deceiving and dominating humanity. Just as the Nephilim led humanity astray with their lies and corruption, so too do the powers of evil continue to try to turn us from the truth and the purity of God. The lessons hidden in the Book of Giants are not just ancient history, they are a warning for us today. The battles we face are not merely physical, but deeply spiritual. The forces that influence the material world have roots in the spiritual realm, and evil is not simply a matter of human choices, but of unseen forces that seek to destroy creation itself. As we fight against the temptations and corruptions of our own time, we must remember the origins of this evil and the continuing struggle between the forces of light and darkness. And now, seeker of truth, are you ready to confront the shadows that still linger? Subscribe to the Portal of the Unknown. Share this knowledge with those who seek to understand the deeper layers of spiritual history, and activate notifications so we can continue this journey together, unraveling the mysteries of a hidden universe where the battle for the fate of humanity rages on without end. The story of the fall of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden marks not only the beginning of human sin, but the opening of a portal through which dark forces entered the world. When the serpent deceived Eve into eating the forbidden fruit, it wasn't simply an act of disobedience. It was the beginning of an undercurrent of corruption that would flow through all of creation. Genesis chapter 3 tells of humanity's loss of its original purity, but apocryphal texts like the Book of Giants expand this tragedy, unveiling the arrival of the Watchers and the demonic seed that would poison the earth. This hidden narrative gives us a deeper understanding of how evil infiltrated the world beyond the mere transgression of Adam and Eve. The sin of the first couple was not only a personal failure, it was an opening for cosmic forces, for fallen angels who, in defiance of divine order, united with humans and produced the Nephilim, hybrid beings of immense power and evil. Thus, the fall of man was the fall of all creation. The Book of Giants, an apocryphal text expanding on the story of Enoch, tells of the Watchers, angels who descended to earth taking human women as wives and creating the Nephilim, giants who dominated the earth and spread chaos. These fallen angels did more than bring physical corruption to the world. They also introduced forbidden teachings to humanity, such as the crafting of weapons and the use of magic, all part of a malevolent plan to distort God's divine order and corrupt creation. In the Book of Enoch, it is described how these actions provoked divine wrath, leading to the great flood that would purify the earth. Yet, the impact of this corruption was profound and lasting. The sin and destruction caused by the Nephilim were not confined to their physical existence. They affected the generations that followed, leaving behind a legacy of evil that would shape the ages to come. This is the critical moment when, in the visible world, evil begins to manifest in tangible forms. When Adam and Eve fell, their sin unleashed not just human sin, but also a broader demonic influence capable of corrupting humanity on both spiritual and physical levels. The serpent in the Garden of Eden, traditionally associated with Satan, symbolizes the beginning of a spiritual battle that transcends the actions of any single human being. The temptation was just the surface of a far deeper reality. What followed was the immersion of the earth in a flood of deceit and corruption, with the Watchers bringing with them forbidden knowledge that distorted human nature and divine order. The Book of Giants illuminates this story, revealing that the Nephilim were not merely gigantic beings, but symbols of a perversion that affected all aspects of human existence. They were the embodiment of profound spiritual destruction, where evil manifested not just through physical domination, but through the very alteration of creation's laws. These giants taught humans to forge weapons, practice magic, and delve into other forbidden sciences, introducing knowledge that corrupted the spirit and twisted the divine intentions for humanity. The union between fallen angels and human women created a lineage that defied the very essence of humanity, making the earth a battleground where evil took on terrifying, tangible forms. On the spiritual plane, the battle between God's forces and the forces of darkness began to unfold. The Watchers, now fallen, began to influence nations, establishing a reign of corruption and tyranny. Their offspring, the Nephilim, became the leaders of this new order, spreading oppression and sin across the earth. But the corruption caused by the Watchers wasn't merely a physical threat, it was also a spiritual one. It corrupted the souls of humankind, severing their connection to the Creator and opening doors for demonic forces to enter. The knowledge imparted by the Watchers was not just technical expertise. It was knowledge that introduced chaos, leading men to disregard divine laws and seek power beyond God's prescribed limits. The impact of this spiritual transgression was so deep that God Himself decided to intervene. The corruption had spread so far that human actions were, in a sense, being directly influenced by demonic forces. The fall of Adam and Eve had become not just a personal sin, but the beginning of a cosmic struggle between good and evil, with humanity caught in the middle. The fall, therefore, was the commencement of a cycle of destruction that encompassed not only humans but the entire universe, plunging the earth into a state of spiritual warfare where the forces of God and evil would clash for eternity. Thus, the Garden of Eden, once a symbol of purity and harmony, became the epicenter of a cosmic war that would determine the fates of all things. The fall of Adam and Eve was not just a singular event. It serves as the key to understanding how evil entered the world and how spiritual forces influence not only human history, but all creation. The Book of Giants expands on this narrative, providing a deeper understanding of the spiritual and cosmic ramifications of humanity's original fall. This insight helps us comprehend the forces that continue to shape our world today. The battle against evil that began in the Garden of Eden continues to unfold in the heart of every individual, with the fallen forces of darkness ever present, seeking to corrupt and destroy God's creation. The Watchers, fallen angels described in Enoch chapter 6, descended upon Mount Hermon, driven by their lust for the daughters of men. Their forbidden union brought forth the Nephilim, giants of immense strength and wickedness. The Book of Giants recounts the reign of these beings, endowed with forbidden knowledge and unmatched power, who became tyrants, devouring everything in their path. They imparted deadly secrets of warfare, sorcery, and dark rituals that twisted the divine order. Just as the forbidden fruit led Adam and Eve to their fall, the destructive wisdom of the Nephilim corrupted all of humanity. Their arrival marked a defining moment in spiritual history, a breach between the divine and the profane, where heavenly wisdom was twisted for destruction. The Nephilim not only dominated mankind physically, but they also seduced humanity with promises of power, leading them further from the Creator. The giants' brute strength was but a part of their ruinous influence. Alongside their physical prowess, the Nephilim brought with them corrupted intelligence that introduced mankind to practices such as the creation of weapons of war, enchantments, and dark rituals. Cities became fortresses of sin, and humanity, once pure, sank deeper into darkness, worshipping the Watchers as gods and spiraling toward destruction. The Book of Enoch tells us that the cries of the earth reached the heavens, and God, witnessing the extent of the corruption, decreed a final judgment, the annihilation of the Nephilim and the imprisonment of the Watchers. This moment of divine intervention marked a pivotal point in history, revealing that despite the apparent triumph of evil, God's justice would always prevail. Yet, the forbidden knowledge passed on by the Watchers did not perish with the flood. Fragments of this dark wisdom endured through the ages, influencing future civilizations and perpetuating cycles of spiritual decay. Kings and rulers, enthralled by the allure of power, sought to revive these ancient practices, prolonging the corruption that began on Mount Hermon. The influence of the Nephilim lingers to this day, evident in systems of oppression, occult practices, and humanity's unyielding thirst for forbidden knowledge. The Watchers taught mankind to manipulate the secrets of creation, exploiting elements and forces beyond human understanding. With each new advancement, a hidden curse emerged, driving humanity further from God's divine plan. The lingering question remains, what exactly did the Watchers offer the daughters of men, and what was the cost of this unholy alliance? The Book of Jubilees suggests that humanity not only accepted this knowledge, but actively sought corruption, enticed by promises of greatness and power. Just as Eve succumbed to temptation in Eden, the descendants of Adam consciously chose darkness, unlocking an era of tyranny and suffering. The forbidden knowledge, once gained, could not be easily forgotten, becoming a curse that haunted generations. The relentless pursuit of power led rulers and priests to revive ancient rituals, attempting to summon the same forces that had once destroyed the ancient world. The echoes of this tragedy reverberate throughout history, from kings seeking hidden wisdom, to empires built upon bloodshed and darkness, to secret societies guarding fragments of the Watchers' knowledge. Even today, the thirst for power and control over the mysteries of creation continues to fuel conspiracies and myths about the descendants of the Nephilim walking among us. Ancient texts hint that the blood of these giants was not entirely eradicated, and their lineage, in some form, still exerts influence behind the curtains of global affairs. The Book of Giants speaks of disturbing dreams that the Nephilim had before their downfall, visions of divine judgment, but also clues suggesting that their bloodline would find ways to survive. The corruption that began with Adam and Eve gave rise to sin, but it was the Nephilim who took this corruption to unimaginable extremes. The violence they unleashed upon the earth was so catastrophic that God, in his righteous judgment, decreed the flood to cleanse his creation. Raphael, the archangel of healing and justice, was appointed to bind the Watchers, fallen angels who had corrupted humanity, while Michael, the celestial warrior, led the charge against the Nephilim, the giants who had become symbols of evil. The Book of Giants portrays the terror these beings felt as they realized their doom was imminent. Haunted by visions of fire, destruction, and eternal imprisonment, they were struck with the terror of what awaited them. The prophetic dreams they experienced painted a picture of inevitable judgment, where the earth would become a tomb, drowned in water and shrouded in shadows. Fear gripped the Nephilim as they understood that their days of tyranny were numbered. Desperate, they turned to their fathers, the Watchers, for answers, hoping to avoid the coming wrath. But no magic or hidden knowledge could alter the course of divine justice. As the Book of Enoch reveals, their cries for mercy ascended to heaven, but heaven was silent. God's decree was final and unalterable. The Nephilim were massive, terrifying creatures, known for their unmatched strength and cruelty. Yet, when confronted with the wrath of God, they were reduced to beings tortured by fear. As the shadow of the flood loomed closer, the giants scrambled to resist their fate. Some tried to escape by building fortresses or retreating into deep caverns, hoping to outrun the coming destruction. In their desperation, some Nephilim even sought to further corrupt humanity, hoping to perpetuate their bloodline even after their downfall. They mingled with men, spreading their seed in a futile attempt to continue their legacy. However, no effort could prevent the inevitable judgment. Raphael, armed with divine authority, descended to earth to carry out God's will. According to apocryphal texts, Raphael cast the Watchers into dark prisons, deep within the abyss, where they would remain until the final day of judgment. These prisons, described as eternal chambers of darkness, became the final abode of the fallen angels, where they would endure torment for their rebellion. Meanwhile, Michael, the great warrior angel, took on the responsibility of eradicating the Nephilim from the earth. Apocryphal texts recount epic battles in which Michael, wielding divine power, confronted legions of giants in combat that would determine the fate of the world. The Book of Jubilees tells of the Nephilim's self-destruction. Consumed by an insatiable hunger and driven to madness by their own corruption, the giants turned on each other. They devoured everything in their path: animals, humans, and even their own kin. This self-destructive behavior was the precursor to the flood, which arrived as a divine wave of purification, wiping away the remnants of the Nephilim's reign. Despite their physical destruction, the influence of the Nephilim did not vanish. According to ancient texts, their spirits were not accepted into the heavenly realm, and they were condemned to wander the earth. These disembodied spirits became the demons, haunting the world in search of bodies to possess, feeding on the fears and sins of humanity. This belief, rooted in the Book of Enoch and shared by both Jewish and Christian traditions, provides an explanation for the origin of evil spirits that continue to plague the world today. These demons, the offspring of the Nephilim, are the lasting legacy of the unholy union between the Watchers and mortal women. They serve as a constant reminder of the corruption that once threatened to engulf all of creation. Thus, the flood was not merely an act of destruction, but a divine reset. It was God's way of purging the world of the corruption brought about by the Nephilim and their fathers, the Watchers. However, history teaches us that such corruption cannot be entirely wiped away by a flood of water. The human heart, tainted by sin from the fall of Adam and Eve, remains vulnerable to dark influences. The cycle of rebellion and destruction that began in Noah's time continued throughout the ages. Even after the flood, ancient cultures carried with them the echoes of the Nephilim's practices, rituals, forbidden knowledge, and cults passed down through generations, hidden in secret texts and temples. The corrupting influence of the Nephilim, it seems, could never be fully erased, and their dark legacy lingers, still seeking to seduce and destroy humanity. The impact of the fall was far-reaching, extending well beyond Eden and spreading like a shadow that gradually consumed all of humanity. The disobedience of Adam and Eve not only brought death into the world, but also created a spiritual rift, a breach that allowed fallen beings to invade and corrupt our reality. This corruption, which began in the garden, has continued to spread across generations. The wars, greed, and pride that now ravage the human heart are all reflections of the same rebellious spirit that began with the first humans. In the Book of Enoch, we are told that the Watchers, angels who descended to earth, driven by forbidden lust, were the first to ignite this escalation of evil. They introduced humanity to forbidden knowledge, teaching them dark arts, weapons of war, and the secrets of nature. These teachings disrupted the divine order, plunging the world into a downward spiral of moral and spiritual decay that has continued to intensify. What was once a paradise of harmony quickly became a battleground, where invisible forces battled for control over the soul of creation. The Apostle Paul in Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us that our struggle is not merely against human forces, but against the rulers, authorities, and spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms, forces that influence the world from the shadows. This spiritual fall didn't only corrupt humanity, it also affected all of creation. The Book of Jubilees suggests that the rebellion's consequences extended even to nature itself. The earth, once fertile and abundant, began to resist humanity's efforts, and animals once tame turned wild. Diseases emerged as a reflection of humanity's separation from God. In Romans 8 verse 22, Paul writes that the whole of creation groans as though in the pains of childbirth, awaiting the moment when it will be redeemed. This cosmic suffering is a reminder that the fall wasn't just a human event, it was a universal collapse that shook every corner of existence. The whole of creation, from the smallest atom to the furthest star, has been affected by the fracture between humanity and the divine. However, the story of humanity is not solely one of despair. Amid the darkness of sin and corruption, God has laid out a plan for restoration. From the time of Noah, when the flood was sent as a response to the corruption brought by the Nephilim, to the ultimate promise of the Messiah, God's hand has been at work, seeking to restore what was lost in the fall. The hope of final restoration, symbolized in the New Jerusalem of Revelation 21, assures us that one day all corruption will be eradicated and humanity will be reconciled with its Creator. This promise gives us hope, even as we face the ongoing consequences of the fall. Yet, until that final day of redemption, the struggle continues. Every act of rebellion, every step toward sin strengthens the darkness that began in Eden. Demons, the spirits of the fallen giants, continue to roam the earth, searching for vessels to possess and spreading the corruption their fathers began. They whisper lies into human hearts, sowing discord and inciting conflict in every corner of society. This invisible battle between good and evil plays out in our daily lives, in every moral decision, and in every battle for the soul of humanity. It is a struggle that continues to shape our world, and it is a fight that must be faced with vigilance, faith, and trust in the ultimate victory that God has promised. The apocalyptic prophecies also speak of the final destiny of this impure lineage. In the Apocalypse of Peter, we catch glimpses of the judgment that awaits sinners and rebels. The eternal fire awaits those who have allied themselves with demonic forces, and the fallen angels will face their ultimate condemnation. Just as the giants of the past were destroyed, the evil forces that still operate in the world will be defeated on the day of the Lord. This vision echoes the divine justice that permeates the scriptures, showing that no act of rebellion will go unpunished. The Book of Enoch itself details the terrifying fate that awaits the Watchers, those angels who abandoned their heavenly positions to corrupt humanity. They will be cast into an abyss of darkness, imprisoned until the Great Judgment, where they will experience the wrath of the Almighty God. The lake of fire, mentioned in Revelation chapter 20, verse 10, is the final destination for not only Satan, but also for those who followed him, both human and spiritual entities. Scripture reveals that judgment will serve as the ultimate purification. In the Apocalypse of Peter, the descriptions are terrifying: rivers of fire, cries of agony, and the relentless presence of angels executing divine justice. The narrative shows that sinners who refuse to abandon their wicked ways will be handed over to eternal torment, standing in stark contrast to the righteous, who will inherit the new heaven and the new earth. This duality is a recurring theme in both apocryphal and biblical texts, reinforcing the idea that divine justice never fails but operates within the appointed time. The giants, the wicked kings, and the followers of the Antichrist are all included in this judgment plan, as the corruption that began with Adam and Eve's fall will culminate on the final day of reckoning. The impure lineage of the Nephilim, once rulers of the earth, wielding brute force and forbidden knowledge, will face not only destruction but will also serve as a warning for future generations. The flood that wiped out the giants was but a foretaste of what is to come. The Apocalypse of John complements this vision, stating that Babylon, the symbol of worldly corruption, will be destroyed in an hour, and the kings of the earth will mourn its fall. This shows that divine judgment is not limited to spiritual forces, but extends to human structures corrupted by sin. But there is hope for those who resist the forces of darkness. The Apostle Peter, in his second epistle, chapter 3, verse 9, declares that God is patient, not wanting anyone to perish, but for all to come to repentance. Even in the face of prophecies of destruction and judgment, there remains an open door of salvation for those who seek the truth and abandon the path of darkness. The saints of the Most High, mentioned in the Book of Daniel, are called to persevere, for their reward will be great. They will inherit a kingdom that will never be shaken, while the demonic forces will finally be silenced forever. But what does this ancient story teach us about the present? Just as Adam and Eve were seduced by the promise of power, modern temptations still beckon us with the same ancient allure. Humanity continues to fight a spiritual war, one that began in Eden and will persist until the end of time. Are we prepared to resist? Or will we, like the Nephilim, succumb to the darkness that seeks to consume our hearts? The tale of the Watchers and the Giants is not a distant relic of the past, but a living warning. An illustration of how forbidden knowledge, unchecked pride, and insatiable desire lead to destruction. Today, we face temptations disguised as progress and freedom, but beneath these facades lies the same deception that first enticed our ancestors. Technologies promising immortality, philosophies that reject divine truth, and systems that seek to replace God's will with human autonomy. All these echo the ancient lies of the serpent. Just like in the days of Noah, when corruption reached its peak and the earth was filled with violence, our modern world stands at a moral crossroads. The culture of death, the idolatry of materialism, and the relentless pursuit of pleasure at any cost all reflect the rebellious spirit that led the Watchers to their downfall. The Book of Jubilees teaches us that time is cyclical. What once was will return in a new form, and humanity must remain vigilant not to repeat past mistakes. Corruption no longer requires the presence of physical giants to take root. It subtly infiltrates our minds and hearts, seducing us with promises of power, knowledge, and autonomy. We are living in a time when spiritual forces are tirelessly at work to lead humanity away from the truth. Just as the Watchers taught mankind the dark arts of war, sorcery, and hidden knowledge, today we see an explosion of deceptive spiritual practices that promise enlightenment but only drive us further into darkness. The Apostle Paul warns us in Ephesians 6 that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, powers, and rulers of this dark world. The spiritual war is real, and each of us is caught in its web, whether we are aware of it or not. But there is hope. Just as God provided a way of escape for Noah and his family, he also offers refuge to those who choose to follow his will. The ark today is not made of wood, but of faith, repentance, and obedience to his word. Jesus Christ is the new path to escape the destruction that threatens, and the invitation to enter this ark is still open. However, time is running out, and the line between truth and deception has never been so thin. The scriptures warn that in the last days, the deception will be so strong that if possible, even the elect will be deceived. Think about this. Travelers of the shadows, forbidden knowledge, the temptation of power, and divine judgment are recurring themes. Since the beginning of creation, humanity has faced choices that define its eternal destiny. What began in the Garden of Eden with the serpent's deception and the fall of Adam and Eve resonates to this day, shaping the course of history and influencing the spiritual battles we fight within. The temptations of the modern world, with their promises of power, control, and boundless wisdom, are merely echoes of the ancient deceit, which, like a subtle poison, infiltrates the hearts of those who seek more than what has been granted to them. The invitation to explore the mysteries of the universe and the hidden secrets is more relevant than ever. But, as the Garden of Eden showed us, not all knowledge is good, and not all quests for power are just. What will we do with the truths we uncover along this journey? Will we use knowledge to elevate ourselves over others, or will we use it to promote justice and righteousness? And more importantly, are we ready to face the divine judgment that, in the end, will reveal the true intentions of our hearts? If the search for answers calls you, subscribe to the portal of the unknown. Let's continue exploring the hidden secrets of the universe, where the lines between the past and the future meet, where the shadows reveal more than the lights can hide. The voices of the past still speak. Are you ready to listen? The knowledge we seek is not only to satisfy curiosity, but to prepare us for the spiritual challenges ahead. The battle between darkness and light is not over. It continues within each of us. Will you choose the truth or be seduced by the lie? The journey is just beginning.